Here we come, blue and white, and we're looking good. You'll be in for a fight, and we fight pretty good. Getting goals is our job, and we get goals good. Looking good, we are Carlisle United.
Carlisle United, the team that's on the ball. Carlisle United, the team for one and all. You're looking good, and we're with you all the way. You'll hear us singing every time you play.
It's time to get on the bus, everyone. Hello and welcome to the Brunton Bugle, a podcast focusing on the trials and tribulations of Carlisle United Football Club. From Joanne Yinser to Nick Anderton and Joshua Coyote to Richard Keogh, we've got it covered. This is episode 7 and it's League 2 season preview time. This is the first episode we've recorded remotely that features all 3 hosts at once, and as you will hear, it's not perfect and there are a few issues with sound levels and quality. Please bear with us, we are very much learning as we go along with the pod, and we're hoping to make a few tweaks that will make it easier for us to give you the episodes in the best quality possible going forward. In this episode, the 3 of us look at how the squads of each club in the division are coming together ahead of the new season, and we give our thoughts on who will be pushing for promotion and who will be looking down the trapdoor to non-league football. We've also put our necks on the line with a few predictions at the end of the episode, which we look forward to being reminded about by all of you come next May. It's a long one, but we hope you find it interesting to hear our thoughts about the new campaign. That's enough of me rambling on. Enjoy your episode. Okay lads, here we are. It's League 2 preview episode time. How are we feeling at the head of the season? Obviously we've one game down, or some might argue 2, but we'll say 1 game down after the Oldham Cup game. Didn't go very well. You still confident ahead of the season? Dan, you going to start? I just realised there's 2 of you there. So
we've got to say yes, haven't we? The first 2 games are cup games. You know, it's a new squad, the bedding in. We have got a few injury knocks at the moment. We'll give them the benefit of doubt and see how the first few weeks pans out. Yeah.
Your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was optimistic, and I don't get optimistic too often. I mean, I remember last season when you had the audacity to say, "Oh, we're building up a decent team," and I shot you right down.
You
like,
did actually. To be fair,
this was like in the summer, and because there have been false dawns, but I do genuinely like the team. But to get a playoff place, you don't have to do it every week, so you can have slip-ups and still make a playoff place. Obviously, that Oldham game was an absolute disaster, and lessons really do need to be learned from that. But, maybe we can still do it. Hopefully we can. Yeah.
Okay, let's get straight stuck into looking at the teams this season. We've divvied them up amongst ourselves. Well, I divvied them up anyway. So we've got round about 8 clubs each. We didn't include Carlisle in that. We're going to look at Carlisle at the very end. Let's get first started in alphabetical order. It's me. I'm doing Barrow. So, new boys to League 2 this season. Finished off as champions of the National League last season after the early curtailing of the football. Interesting one. It's hard to predict how they're going to do because the man who got them there, Ian Evatt, has obviously left this summer. They've replaced him with David Dunn, whose record as a manager in his one spell at Oldham is not particularly great.
Bruises.
And yeah, exactly. Who has had a good spell at Oldham? But you look at the signings they've made; they're solid-ish. I think the one that stands out for me straight away is Mike Jones. I don't know your guy. Obviously, we're going to mention him because he's ex-CFC, but I don't know what you guys think in terms of him being a key signing for them, really.
Well, I think, if you're signing sort of players like him, when you're coming up from the conference, bear in mind it's the first year in the Football League for God knows how long. Players like Mike Jones, survival has to be the ultimate goal, and players like Mike Jones, for survival, I think it'll be a good addition for them.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the ages of the Barrow signings, and They're very similar to us. There's a lot of young lads, Mike Jones, 32. Most of them are in their early 20s, and the only one that really stands out as quite experienced is, and I apologise if I get his surname wrong, is Kagosi Ntli.
You know what? I looked this up before because me and Mike were discussing it before you joined us, Dan. It's pronounced Kosi Unclair.
Right.
Which I know is baffling, isn't it? Because it looks nothing like that when it's written down. The other one that stands out for me is Josh Lillis as a goalkeeper, because that's the one position they did need to fill. Because I think their second and third choice keepers left in the summer. Good experience here. That is one actually I mentioned, I think, as one of the potential Rochdale players who could come and join us. Good solid name between the sticks. Obviously, they brought Luke James back. I think he's been on loan with them in the past from Hartlepool. He's a player who years ago people were expecting big things of, weren't they? I think about 8 years ago when he broke through as a 17-year-old, but he never really kicked on, did he? He could be an interesting one for them. But I sort of agree with you. I think you look at the signings, they're generally pretty solid, and I think it depends as much as anything how they start the season, really. And you can't see them challenging for a playoff place. But on the flip side, they've maybe got enough to keep themselves out of trouble. Scott Quigley, if he can keep his scoring form up from the conference.
I think surely the first thing, it's the first year back for nearly 50 years. It's got to all be about finishing 22nd. And anything above is a bonus.
Yeah, you'd think that would be their aim, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, looking in their squad, the Carlisle United connection there, Mike Jones, but obviously Pat Brough there as well, who signed a new contract, I think, a few weeks ago. When we looked at the departures, obviously Everett leaving as manager is the big one for them, but they also lost John Rooney, who went to Stockport. A bit of a strange one, that, because we were allegedly targeting him in January to drop back down to the National League.
Didn't we offer 50p in January?
Unusual, that, isn't it?
And they were
and a Mars bar.
Something like that, wasn't it?
No, the reason he's gone to Stockport, I did a bit of digging on this. Seemingly Stockport have come into money, and they've made several signings that I would expect Stockport to certainly be having a go in the National League.
They've got Richie Bennett as well.
What more do you need?
They did indeed, yeah. Bennett and Rooney, yeah, what a lineup. That could have been ours. But yeah, the other news I saw for Barrow this summer is the fact that they've had to do a bit of improvements to the ground, and one of the things they've done is put a roof on the old Holker Street end. Holker Street as the ground is called, which is the away end. But me and you were talking about this, Dan, weren't we? It looks a little bit of a bodge job, because there's about 1 million. But I know they've explained why they've had to put 1 million supporting balls in, because apparently the wall behind the stand couldn't support a freestanding roof. But you almost think, well, just knock the whole thing down and start again. It seems
I wouldn't like to be stood on one of the back rows. The amount of pillars. I mean, they've done the best they can with it, but it's one of those that
yeah, it's true.
On a dark Tuesday night in February with the floodlights and all those metal bars in the way, I don't think you'll have the best of views.
Certainly not. It's interesting. Me and Mike were talking before, where you look down through the capacities of grounds in the league next season. There's a lot of teams that have come up from the conference in maybe the last decade or so who's got grounds that are under 6,000 now. And obviously the thing you forget is it used to be the regulation, wasn't it? You had to have a ground of at least capacity 6,000, but I think they reduced that to 4.5, I think it was. Possibly 5, because Harrogate's attendance, or capacity, is dead on 5,000, which suggests that might be the regulation now.
Yeah, and I think Forest Green's just over 5, and Salford as well, I think.
Well, yeah, actually, when you look through them, there's 5 teams that capacities are under 6,000, which are Crawley, which is 4 under 6,000, so it's basically 6,000. But then you've got Forest Green, 5,107, Salford's 5,108, and Barrow 5,045, and Harrogate dead on 5,000. So yeah, it's interesting, that one. So yeah, I expect Barrow will do okay this season. I can't see them struggling. It depends how Dunn gets on, really, as manager, I think. But you'd imagine if it doesn't work out, they'll bin him off pretty quickly and get an experienced head in to keep them in the division, you'd imagine. But yeah, it should be an interesting season for them. A little bit of a shame for them that they can't have fans back in at the start by the looks of things. But obviously we look forward to our game, hopefully, at Brunton Park in front of fans on the 3rd of October. Okay, next club up. Dan, it's you. You've got the big boys, Bolton Wanderers.
Yeah, and I think they're on about 17 or 18 signings now.
They've been busy, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I mean, I know there was always going to be a big influx at Bolton because they didn't really sign many players till the January window, and a lot of those were short-term contracts. There's quite a bit of a Carlisle connection. Obviously,
yes, indeed.
Gethin Jones turned down his deal here, got a deal at Bolton. Brandon Comley, who we had on loan from QPR, has joined on a permanent from Colchester, when he was one of those who got released early, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Colchester. Sean Miller signed for them the other day.
Yeah.
Which I saw a few people saying, well, what they've done that. I think it's more for the experience side of it.
He's a squad player, isn't he? And me and Mike were saying this before, that he's a player you could bring on with half an hour and he'll run at defenders. Even at his age now, he's still got a little bit of pace, and I think he'll cause problems.
League Two's kind of uncharted territory for Bolton as well, and they need players that know the league. Cause
a bit of know-how.
Have been relegated and have sort of had players who are maybe capable of the league above, but you need more than that. You need sort of a bit more know-how of the actual league that you're in, rather than...
I think they got the headliners in early, the likes of Owen Doyle and Antoni Sarkovic. There's a couple of others, and I think what they're doing now is exactly that, just putting 2 or 3 squad players in who've been around this league, know what it's about.
Well, I think Taft and Baptiste stand out as well as good signings for this level, don't they? They're players who certainly know at this level. You obviously missed, I don't know if you missed it or you were about to say it there, Dan, but there's one other ex-Carlisle United connection in there, of course.
I was going to say Tom White, because he nearly came to us, never went to Blackburn and went to Barrow on loan.
Yeah, but obviously he was an IU setup, wasn't he, for a couple of years back in the day. So he's done well for himself, and by all accounts had a decent debut for them against Bradford in the Cup at the weekend. But Everton, decent appointment seemingly for them.
I think it's one of those. He's took the gamble, knowing that if it doesn't work, he'll get a bit of leeway because it's Bolton and it's been a bit of a crisis club for a couple of years, and he would probably get another job somewhere else. It's
always a big risk for managers in those situations, isn't it, though? When you look at, what's his name at Shrewsbury, Paul Hurst. He took the job at Ipswich, didn't he? And he just did not pay off at all. And,
no.
And I think he's had a job since then, hasn't he? And he's struggled there. He was a Scunthorpe, wasn't he? And really didn't impress at all. He just shows.
It's one of them as well, though. I mean, if he stayed at Barrow, like we said before, anything above 22nd, I think they'd be happy with. But the amount that, I mean, there isn't a lot of pressure because they've been a crisis club. But if they're not sort of at least in the playoffs, for me, questions are seriously going to be asked because of the, he's been given plenty of freedom to get his own squad in. So, I'd say there's a lot more pressure in this, but I guess as a manager, you get, these kind of opportunities don't come along too often, and you've got to take them sometimes.
Yeah. You can imagine they're going to be surely challenging for the title this season. If they don't, it'd be
on paper, yes. But reality could be different, couldn't it? But we'll see.
I mean, on paper last season, Salford should have walked away with the title, I think. But, the game isn't played on paper.
That's very true indeed. So, decent Carlisle United connection in that squad there anyways. And I am really looking forward to our trip to the Reebok. I'm glad it's towards the end of the season. So hopefully there'll be a decent chance we'll get to go there as well.
It's not the Reebok anymore. It's
apologies, I'm still living in the past. I'm living in Premier League years circa 2002-03. I remember the glory days of JJ Okocha playing for them.
It's officially the University of Bolton Stadium.
Correct. Very, very right. So I think that pretty much covers Bolton. I think we all know what to expect there. They're going to be up near the top, and I can't see them being anywhere outside the playoffs at the very least. So you'd think they'd be up near the top. What odds actually are they, Dan? I think you had the odds together, didn't you, for the season?
Yes, got them I did. Let me just pull that up. Barrow are 50-1.
Well, 50-1. You did not a massive surprise there, and obviously Bolton are going to be the favourites, aren't they?
Bolton 5-1 and Salford 13-2. Then double figures the rest.
Yeah, no massive surprise there.
No.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Mike, it's you, Bradford.
Yeah, well, Bradford finished 9th last season, and the bookies have them about 7th favourites this season, so probably be knocking in around the playoffs, I reckon. They got rid of 13 players, and they've only got 5 in. But I wouldn't say the squad is lacking depth. I think they had a lot of players on the books last season.
I think they've thinned it, haven't they?
I was going to say, we've took about half of them who they released, haven't we?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, yeah. And obviously they've got Elliot Watton. He's the sort of ex-Carlisle connection there. So, I mean, for us last season, his set pieces were really useful for us in that sort of Chris Beach segment of the season, if you like. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think he'll be a really good sign. Obviously, he's a permanent deal, 2-year deal, undisclosed fee. So if he does well, they could well get a decent fee for him as well. He's only 20 years old as well, I think. So, I think he'll be a really good sign. And they've got Clayton Donaldson and Lee Novak up front, who have both played most of the career in Championship League One, haven't they? So,
but they've lost James Vaughan as well, though, haven't they? I think there was a bit of a fallout there, wasn't there? And he didn't seem to get on very well with the Bradford fans or the coaching staff there. And he's turned up at Tranmere, hasn't he? So that's a bit of experience lost. But
and as well, I mean, we don't quite know what we're going to be doing in terms of sort of percentage of ground capacities. I mean, 30%'s been knocked around, 40%'s been knocked around. But if it's 40%, their ground can still hold 10,000 fans, which, compared to other clubs is a lot. I mean, their average gates last season were over 14,000, but, they say that every season ticket holder is there every week, which maybe isn't the case. But you'd imagine that they'll be selling out every week, regardless. So.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they do, because they would have won the clubs who quite nobly agreed to end the season when they still had a decent chance of making the playoffs last year, didn't they? But like I said, when you look at their squad, they haven't massively strengthened. They've probably got a lot of the deadwood out, but they haven't added a huge amount of quality outside of what really. So it'll be interesting. I think Billy Clark's gone back there as well, hasn't he? I think he was there for a while, but
and Curtis Guthrie went as well. He's always good for half a dozen goals or so, isn't he?
Yeah. I don't think they've lost a few of us, so it'll be interesting to see how they do. You'd imagine they'll be trying to push for a playoff place again, but they probably haven't had enough quality to kick on any further than that, I'd think. Okay, that's Bradford done. It's another one for you now, Mike. Cambridge, obviously, we're playing them on the opening weekend. Can you see really much of them kicking on this season?
Well, I mean, they finished 16th last season, and the bookies reckon they're about 16th favourites this season, so probably not a lot. Although, funnily enough, they've signed Wes Houlihan, who is now 38 years old, still going strong, from Newcastle Jets, where he only played 5 games over there. But he's a player as well. He's played most of his career around Championship, League One level. Even at 38, he can probably still do a job.
If they use him well, you'd imagine he could be a really good signing for them, but it just depends on his fitness levels as well, I guess.
Yeah. And they've also signed Kai Mackenzie Lyle from Liverpool, who is a Guyana international, if I've pronounced that
Guyana,
right.
I think it is.
Guyana, yeah. And he is a goalkeeper who scored on his international debut.
Ah.
So there you go.
Goal-scoring goalkeeper like Marcus Stewart, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting one. Obviously, the ex-Carlisle United connection there, Jack Idell signed, because sadly they no longer have Jabbo playing for them anymore.
No, so I hope they go down, to be honest.
Not bitter at all, but yeah, they've made some good solid experience signings there, haven't they? When you look, they've signed Paul Mullen as well from Tranmere, who's always decent at this level as well, and I think Joe Ironside's done okay at Macclesfield in the past. There's no real sort of standout star quality, is there? It's just sort of a solid-looking squad.
Yeah, so I think sort of having them as 16th favourites is probably quite fitting for them, really.
Yeah, I don't think I've got a massive amount to add really on them, have we? Really, to one of those clubs that you can't see them really struggling that much unless they get a few knocks. Maybe and the squad looks a little bit thin, but they should be okay. And I think Jack Idell will do okay there. Actually, I think he was starting to pick up a bit of form until Nick Anderton arrived. So
scored a few goals for a fullback as well.
He did indeed. So yeah, that's Cambridge done. I don't read out any more on that. We're obviously not going to do Carlisle in depth in the same way because we all know about them really. Next up, Cheltenham Town. That's you, Dan.
Yeah, one of probably the surprise package of last season, finishing fourth. They only lost 6 games, which was the least in the league. They drew a few, but they finished 4th. And I just wonder, looking at their transfers, there's not been that. There's 1 or 2 have gone out, 1 or 2 have come in, but nobody really stands out. And I just wondered if they're one of them who they're going to suffer that sort of fallback this season. You know, maybe sort of top half of the table, but not the heights of last season.
Did they have a few loans last season as well, and they've gone back? Yeah.
They had 1 or 2. They seem to plunder players from under 23 teams.
Yes, yeah.
I know they've signed one from Brighton, West Brom, Oxford, West Brom again. You know,
I mean, the two when I look at their list of signings, the 2 that stand out for me, Andy Williams from Northampton. He's an experienced striker. He knows this level, and I think he's from round that way as well, isn't he? I think he was at Bristol Rovers for a bit, so you probably feel at home there. And the one that stands out, and I thought, decent signing, this Liam Serkin. He's always been a very good player at this level, hasn't he? So one that stands out.
But no, they don't shout out as, you know. I think last season, unfortunately, the COVID situation sort of done for them, and Northampton did a number on them with superior fitness in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, it's one of those ones. I think you could look at it in the sense that they've kept most of their squad together, so maybe that'll keep going. But like you said, the knockback of obviously losing in the playoffs might hit them a little bit more. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. Your feelings then that they're probably going to maybe miss out on the playoffs this year?
Yeah, I don't think they'll be down the bottom.
No,
but I just think that maybe their chance has gone, if you know what I mean, and they maybe need to regroup. Similar
in the way Newport struggled last season after that. So that's Cheltenham looked at. Next up, another one for you again, Dan. It's Colchester United.
Yeah, again, quite similar to Cheltenham. Colchester were one of the first clubs to come out and say, this is really going to hit us, this whole situation. And they released, I think it was Comley, Frank Newblay and Luke Prosser, who were
Prosser's a good player.
Prosser and Newblay were a bit of sort of the spine of the team a bit, and you look at the transfers, they've only brought 4 players in,
and one of them
Shamal George.
Exactly, I was about to say that.
I mean, Tommy Smith's been around the block.
Well, Tommy Smith's only 30. I thought he was older. So that's a good signing that. Get him at that age.
It's just I worry if there's much around him for them.
True.
And they were quite open about this is going to hit us.
They've always tried to push their youth sides, though, haven't they? And they're bringing their young players through, and they promoted from within, haven't they, as manager?
They've actually got, looking on their squad page, they've got a lot of players still. I think they've got about 30 players listed. And I
think a lot of them are players who've come through their academy, I think. They focus a lot on that. And they did the same with their managers, don't they? Because I think the manager's promoted from within again, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Steve Ball.
I'm just looking, and I think every Carlisle fan's favourite Colchester player, Harry Pell, I think a lot is going. He's captain. I think a lot's going to fall on his shoulders.
Yeah, so they're one probably similar to Cheltenham in that it's going to be a tough year for them, and they might find themselves probably not challenging for the playoffs. And it's one of those ones. If they have a particularly rotten start, they could find themselves dragged down towards the bottom as well.
Yeah.
Could be a tough one. But
no, I just similar to the last team, Cheltenham. There's nothing stands out about them at present.
Yep. Okay, well, let's move on from them because there's not really much to add on about Colchester. Crawley Town. Mike, I've given you this one, and we know why you've given you this one, because it's the scene of one of your favourite away journeys ever, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, there was that infamous trip. It was the year we got relegated, and us 3, we all went down on the train, didn't we? And oh my God, just it was one of them. I remember we were specifically saying on the train, like, this could be a Scott Dobie at Chester, or a Jimmy Glass, this could be one of them iconic away games that you talk about. Were you there? Oh yeah, I was there. Yeah, and it was just the worst 0-0 that I've ever seen.
I was just going to say the biggest feat of the day was discovered in the biggest Greg shop we've ever seen, wasn't it?
Enormous. He was like huge. Why is it?
That tells you how good the game was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was awful.
What I remember about that trip as well is the fact that I was actually in work the next day and had to get a National Express bus back from Victoria Coach Station at about 11:30, getting in about 6, getting a couple of hours sleep and going to work. Because I could not sleep on that bus. Anyone who's been on a National Express overnight bus can tell you it's nigh on impossible to get sleep on it. Go on.
This season, obviously they finished 13th last season. The bookies has them at about 21st this season.
Interesting.
So they're obviously expecting bad things. Obviously, their star man, as we all know, is Ashley Madison, ex Carlisle there, but he's only scored 5 in 25 for them. So
he had a couple of injuries, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think he was in and out a bit, and also the big one is Bez Lubala's left them, hasn't he?
He just joined Blackpool by looks. Just seen that now. It must have happened today, did it? I guess
it's been recent. I know.
Yeah, well, that's a big loss for them. But obviously they've lost Ollie Palmer as well. He was a bit of a nuisance as a forward, wasn't he? He's gone to Wimbledon, so they've lost some key players.
Yeah, so all in all, it's 7 out and 7 in. But I think the bookies are maybe predicting bad things for them for a reason.
There were one that I certainly thought they could be one to sort of be in the bottom 6 and then maybe have enough about them to stay up. But it wouldn't surprise me if we were right down there.
But as well, attendances. I think that could really impact clubs financially. Like I said before, if Bradford are getting 10k gates on 40% of capacity, Crawley can only get 2,400, which is just chalk and cheese, isn't it? But at the same time, though, Crawley's average gates last season were about 2,200. So if they're only allowed 2,400 in, it's not going to hurt them, really. But it's just a different world.
Yeah. So look again. Like I said, we're looking at their squad. It's not a massive amount. The big thing is they've lost their quality. That's the key thing, isn't it? Really, and have they replaced it with the same? I'm not convinced. So they might be one that struggles this season. Maybe could be a tough one for them.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well let's move on to the next one. It's me up next. I've got Exeter City. I think they'll just be hoping they don't have another playoff drama for them this season, because 3 of the last 4 seasons they've been in the playoffs, and obviously 3 of the last 4 seasons they've failed to go up via the playoffs. Same again this season. It was it's just one of those things, isn't it? They just don't seem to be able to push themselves above to the next level. I had a look through their signings. There's not a massive amount coming in, really. It's pretty bare. They've signed Jake Caprice from Tranmere. Not really a name I've really heard of that much, if I'm honest. Rory McArdle back in the day was a decent centre-back, but he's come from Scunthorpe, so it doesn't really suggest that, we signed a centre-back from Scunthorpe and look how well that went.
I think the thing that I noticed the most was a lot of the experienced heads.
Yes, I was just about to say that.
The likes of Lee Holmes, Lee Martin, Dean Moxey, they've all gone.
Yeah, they've lost, Aaron Martin has gone as well, a good centre-back.
Yeah.
What's his name? Craig Woodman as well. Good player. So they've lost a lot of experience there, not really replaced it. Now, they are a club that likes to promote youth, I know that, but is it expecting a little bit too much from them? Possibly. They've lost Brennan Dickinson as well. They signed him from MK Dons and he's come to us instead of staying there. So 5th place last season. I genuinely think they might end up dropping out of the playoffs this year. I think they might be mid-table.
I think the same. I think they're going to be similar to what I think will happen with Cheltenham and Colchester. Yeah,
and obviously they've got 2 ex-Carlisle United players there in Ryan Bowman, who's doing well for himself, actually, to be fair, and Tom Parks, centre-back. So, interesting one, that. It's... I have the feeling that they're probably going to drop off a little bit this season. I don't think they'll struggle to the point where they'll be in danger of going down. But
no.
But I just have this feeling that Matt Taylor, their manager, has done a decent job since he came in his first management job. But I think with the departures of, like I said, of the experience they've lost, I think it might be a tough one for them this summer. It's an interesting one, Matt Taylor. Actually, I just want to quickly touch on this. As a player, he actually started out as a goalkeeper, and I think he won the FA Trophy or the FA Vase as a goalkeeper in non-league. And then ended up getting converted to be a centre-back. You don't see that very often, do you, really?
Not really.
It's professional. It's a very unusual one, that. I think it's when he was studying at the University of Bath, possibly. I think he got spotted there and signed by Exeter back in the day as a player. But yeah, interesting one. So that's Exeter. Next up, Forest Green Rovers. Mike.
I mean, honestly, there just isn't a lot to say about Forest Green. They finished 10th last season, and the bookies reckon they're going to do about the same again.
Sorry, I think they're one of a number of teams who'll sort of be looking at it thinking, we can go for this.
Well, look at the signings they made. They made the Jameel Matt from Newport particularly stands out as a good sign.
Yeah, well, Scott Wagstaff as well from Wimbledon. He's a good signing. I mean, it's 11 out and 11 in, and I think a lot of these clubs, when you have these mass overhauls, they're either going to work or they're not. It's like, it's really sort of, it can go one way or the other. But they seem to be sort of quite a well-run club off the pitch as well, and I think financially, obviously, all this COVID is. Knocked quite a few teams back for 6, and I think financially they'll be all right.
Well, they're lucky. They've got that fella who owns Ecotricity. Dale Vince, isn't it? The vegan fella owns them, and I think he pumps a bit of money to them, but it keeps them sort of efficient in the way he does it. But yeah, it's interesting that you seem to think they might do all right this season, Dan, because I don't want to give away our season predictions at the end here, but I have got Mark Cooper down as one of the potential first managers to be sacked this season. So there you go, interesting one that. But
so you reckon that they're going to do awful, Dan reckons they're going to do all right, and I reckon they're just going to finish mid-table.
Well, I'm not sure they're going to do awful. I think that Cooper might get sacked, but they might get someone in who'll turn them round. I'm just not convinced by Cooper as the manager, really.
We're just covering all bases.
Exactly the best way to do it. Okay, up next, Grimsby Town, so that's me. It's another one that's a bit of a muchness, really. They appointed Ian Holloway, didn't they, last season to take over from, was it Mike Jolly, I think it was, who was their manager? Got sacked after a bit of a sweary rant, I seem to remember. He done really well, to be fair, Holloway. I think it was a hell of an appointment for them. Apparently they convinced him by speaking to him in a chippy in Grimsby. That sold him the club.
Sounds about right, doesn't it?
About right for him, doesn't it? They did really well, but their summer recruitment doesn't look particularly exciting, if I'm going to be honest. Sean Scannell stands out as a big signing.
Sean Scannell and Danny Rose are the ones that scream out, aren't they?
I think that's Danny Rose, the central midfielder, rather than the striker, isn't it?
Left back.
Yeah, there's 3 of them, isn't it? It's hard to keep up. But Sean Scannell, you think he's quite an exciting signing, but actually his last couple of clubs he's not done that well. So you wonder, but then again, I think Holloway's had him in the past, hasn't he? He might be the one to get the best out of him. That's the only thing I'm thinking. The other one who stands out for me is, you might know him a bit more than me, Dan, Bilal Moshini, is it?
Yes, Moshini. He was at Rangers for a couple of years, and then he went to France, and he's done the typical journeyman. I think he went back to Dundee United for a few games, and I think he was recently in Greece. I think it was. Yeah,
he's been around the block, hasn't he? So bit of experience there at the back for them, but there's nothing really when I look at the squad that stands out to me and says, "Whoa, that's a hell of a good signing, really." So it's George Williams from Forest Green, actually, as well, as a decent enough player. But yeah, they finished 15th last season. I just can't see them being any different to that, really. I think Holloway will probably lift them higher than they should be, but I'm just not really convinced. They've got no ex-Carlisle United connections anymore because Jordan Cook left in the summer. But yeah, it's the one that stands out for me, actually. They lost a couple of players. That's the thing that I noticed. They lost what's his name, Jake Hesselenthaler, who's obviously son of Andy Hesselenthaler. He's gone to Crawley, funny enough. He left them, and Charles Vernon, he was in flying form for them towards the end of the season. But by all accounts, they absolutely messed up his contract renewal, and he ended up leaving on a free to go to Burton Albion. So I saw a lot of their fans saying that they were pretty unhappy about that. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on. But again, much of a muchness, I can't see them really doing much this season. So okay, next up, Harrogate Town, and that's Dan.
Yeah, I think similar to Barrow, 22nd place, they'll be happy. They've got quite a small squad. Obviously, they had to wait to get their playoff games out of the way.
Yes.
And when you look through the squad, there's not that much that screams out off the page.
They've not lost many, though, have they?
No, which is probably a good thing. Obviously, the two that stand out from a Carlisle point of view, Mark Beck
Yeah.
And then the experienced head who he'll probably learn off being John Stead.
Yeah.
They're the two. Obviously, Paul Furwell's assistant manager. And I'll just use this as an opportunity again. If the man with the Paul Furwell tattoo happens to listen, get in touch, mate. Get in touch.
We need a photo to prove how amazing that tattoo was. Brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. They'll start the season playing at Doncaster, obviously, because of the fact they have to replace their 4G pitch to allow them to play in the league at home. I feel with you, I think they probably would be happy with 22nd. But I have a feeling just because they've kept most of the squad together and haven't had a massive turnover of players, I think they might do a little bit better than Barrow.
The one, I don't know if you two watched the conference final. They absolutely smashed Notts County in that game.
I didn't catch it, no, but I've heard from people
They
that said the
smashed
same.
them. I thought they were superb and fully deserving. So, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go. And I have a feeling they'll do a little bit better than people expect, actually. I've got them potentially as a dark horse, maybe, just because they've kept that squad together and they've had the same manager for years now as well. I think it's his dad owns the club, isn't it? It's Simon Weaver. I think his dad owns the club.
Yeah.
And pumps a bit of money in to keep them challenging. So yeah, Harrogate, no massive changes there, but bit of a new one for us. Obviously, we don't know masses about them, but be interesting to see how they get on. Okay, and up next we've got it's mine and Dan's favourite away trip of the season, but it's Mike who's going to be telling us all about them. It's Leyton Orient.
Yeah, so they finished 17th last season, and the bookies reckon it's about the same again. Again, not a lot to I mean, they've only got 2 new players in, which I think is insane when you compare that to other clubs. Obviously, they had Yaya Toure training with them. They never sort of got a contract down, which I think is never going to happen anyway. But and they've got Joby McAnuff, who's 38 years old, playing for them, who's spent most of his career at a higher level as well. But
he's not the oldest player in the league, though, is he? Well, we'll get onto him in a minute.
Well, yeah. But not a lot to say about them really. I think it's just another. They're probably not going to be sort of in the relegation dogfight, but they're not going to be anywhere near the playoffs either.
I mean, they had a bit of a traumatic sort of season off the field last year, didn't they, on their return to the Football League with obviously the sad passing of Justin Edinburgh. And then they had a few issues in terms of replacing him, didn't they? And they eventually went back to his assistant, didn't they, Ross Embleton. And he did a pretty decent job, to be fair, kept them pretty solid in the league, didn't he? And it's again one of those ones you think to yourself, well, they've not lost a massive amount, but they've only brought 2 in. It might work quite well for them having a solid squad that's, stuck together for most of the time they've been there. So, yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are, Dan, on that one.
Yeah, I think there'll just be much of a muchness. Like I say, the one plus for them is the squad is quite settled. Yeah, just.
Yeah, we're going to put pretty much every team in mid-table at this rate, bar the ones that are going to go down, aren't we? We're not sure. It's such a hard season to judge. We're deliberately not really talking much about how they've done in pre-season because I just think it's impossible to judge this pre-season just because the way it's gone and the way clubs are starting and stuff like that. So we're not really getting into details of that. So let's move on to the next team anyway. We decided Leyton Orient to be mid-table. So one of the teams that a lot of people seem to think could contend for promotion, it's Mansfield Town.
Yeah, Mansfield will be very disappointed last season because when the season finished, they were 21st. I mean, they were never in danger of slipping down because Stevenage were so poor and Macclesfield just collected points deductions. But I think they sort of said that, we haven't got the same money as normal, but they got the deals done early. There was quite a few of the names we associate with them in the last couple of seasons have left. Your Christian Pearce, Hayden White, Otis Khan, Hamilton, Neil Bishop, there's
Craig Davis.
Yeah, and but again, they've brought, I think it's 8 of them in so far, and one thing with Mansfield, they're not shy in bringing players in.
No.
It's I hate to say it, but I'm just looking at the players they've signed. The one that stands out probably is James Perch.
Yeah,
that's a player who should have done so much more, and he's just sort of went down the leagues, hasn't he?
The thing is, you remember him being at Newcastle and obviously in Wigan and places like that, but he signed from Scunthorpe, so
yeah.
Is he going to be the same quality? I don't know. The one that I spotted actually was the goalkeeper, Marek Stesh, because they've lost Bobby Olnek, haven't they?
Yes.
He's a decent keeper. So replaced him with another good keeper, to be fair.
Yeah, Stetch is a good signing.
And I think George Maris as well signed from Cambridge. He's always been a good player at this level. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, they've had quite a bit of a clear out, like you said, of the quality. So it's a very hard one to judge. Manager who's fairly new there, isn't it? Is it Graham Coughlin? I think he's the manager. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. Yeah. So your thoughts are really a tough one to judge.
Yeah, like we say, we just until we start seeing results come in, and 6, 8, 10 games in, it's going to be really hard this year. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll move on to the next one now. Morecambe, and that's me. I think that's me covering them. Yeah. I think they're League Two's longest serving club now, aren't they? I think they've been in for about 13, 14 seasons, something like that now. I think it's quite incredible when you look at the crowds they get, the fact that they stay in every season. It's quite a credit to the people who've run the club in the past and the managers they've had, particularly the job Jim Bentley did there until he obviously left in the summer. What a move that turned out to be for him, really. It's managing in the National League North now when he thought he might be challenging for promotion. I think Derek Adams did a decent job when he came in, didn't he? But he certainly ruffled a few feathers when he arrived, because some of the senior players weren't particularly happy. Obviously, we know the story about Kevin Ellison, but he froze Barry Roach out a bit as well, didn't he? He was a keeper's been there for years.
When you look at the list of transfers, the two that stand out are the two that have been there for years, which is Roach and Ellison. I mean, it'll be quite strange playing against Morecambe and them two not being about. Yeah,
and obviously the other one who's obviously left, it interesting transfer. This one, Stephen Old, who left them in the summer. He's gone to East Kilbride, playing junior football in Scotland. Strange on that, because he had looked a decent player for them, a New Zealand international. But in terms of the signings this summer, they've actually made some pretty decent ones when you look at it. Let's forget Nathaniel Knight Percival for a minute here. That's the Carlisle United connection, but that's not what I would have said was a decent signing. But Kevin Miller from Bradford has always impressed me when he's played at
Miller and Pringle are the two that stand out.
Pringle especially as well. As soon as I saw him, I thought, that is a good sign of that level. I think Stephen Hendry as well, not the snooker player obviously, from Kilmarnock is another good signing. So,
well, I was just going to say, I wonder if Stephen Hendry's looking for his big break in English football.
Come on! I'll put the drum roll in there. Thank you very much, Stephen. Dear God,
I do apologise, listeners.
Well, see, the only other departure stood out to me was Andrew Toot as well. He always seemed to be a decent player. He's gone to Bolton, but then he didn't play that much for Morecambe last season. Maybe injury issues there. It's one of those ones. I think, like I said, Adams did a steady job settling them last season. They finished 22nd, but they were pretty comfortably 22nd, weren't they, in the end? I think they'd probably be happy with the same again this summer, probably, but in the circumstances.
I think once Adams came in, they did pick up 1 or 2 points, didn't they? They're one of them who could maybe just... Good surprise,
possibly, yeah. It depends on the net. I think Knight Percival will actually do a lot better there than he did for us. I have a feeling it'll be a decent sign of him. I don't think he ever really got going with us, but I think maybe at a club that size it might work better for him. Yeah. So there's Morecambe. I think they're probably going to be struggling again, but you never know. Just depends how good a start they get to the season.
Yeah.
Up next, Newport County, and that's me again. I think it is. Yes. Newport's a weird one because Mike Flynn's been manager for a few years there now, and he's a club legend. Doesn't even have 4 spells as a player. Did a brilliant job in 2017, performing the Great Escape to save them. And he established them as a really hard to beat, quite a direct but very effective side over the last couple of years. And the season before, they made the playoffs and they got to the final. Only got beat by Tranmere, I think, in injury time. I think it was very the end of injury time.
Newport's problem for me is they do well in home cup ties.
Yeah.
And I think eventually it catches up with them when
especially
it comes
with that
to
pitch.
the league.
Yeah. Of course, they share it with 2, not just 1, but 2 rugby clubs, don't they? Yeah. So that really does affect them. But last season just seemed a season too far, didn't it? And they were dropping like a stone when we beat them in the last game that we played.
Yeah, they were terrible. They were terrible as well.
They were awful that day. I mean, we weren't a great side, but we took them apart that evening. Sorry. So yeah, it's an interesting one. The signing that stands out, we've mentioned him already, Kevin Ellison, 41 years, still going strong. A lot of people sort of mocked it a bit, but I think it's an effective side. He's not going to play every game. He knows that. But he'll do a job for them and he'll wind players up, and he's still got a bit of quality in his left foot. So And the other one that stands out there is Ryan Taylor, centre forward, signed from Plymouth. He's always looked a good player to me, good target man. They tend to rely a lot on loan players from Bristol City and Swansea and Cardiff, don't they? They're in an ideal position to take advantage of that.
Definitely.
So they've got a couple more, I think one from Bristol, one from Swansea this summer. The departure that's going to be a big blow for them is Jamil Matt, we've mentioned him previously, going to Forest Green Rovers. And they've obviously had the sad news about the retirement of Mark O'Brien at the age of 27 with a heart problem. Required surgery. I didn't realise it's the second defender in a year that they've had to retire for that reason. It's, incredible. You think it happened once, but it happened to two players. Fraser Fanks being the other player that happened to. Finished 14th last season. I can't see them repeating the heroics of the playoffs this season. I think it's going to be a tough season for them. There's one of those ones you could potentially see, because like we mentioned, obviously they were dropping like a stone when the season ended early. They could continue that form, especially as they haven't been able to really strengthen that much this summer. So it's going to be a tough one for them, isn't it? Yeah,
but again, it's just there's just so many questions over this whole season that would probably be quite good penciling in an update after 10 or 12 games.
Definitely, yeah. But yeah, Newport, I can see them being a team that potentially might struggle this season. That's my bold prediction there. Okay, up next, we've already played them. Oldham Athletic, Dan. You probably won't need to give it too much detail here, but give it your best shot.
No, well, Oldham had a typical Oldham Athletic summer, sacking the Paddock's friend Dino Mamria a few weeks ago. And they went, it's not so much a gamble, because he's had a couple of jobs, but obviously, as we know, Harry Kewell came in. They've had a massive turnover of players.
Yeah. A lot of them doing late, though, haven't they? That's the key thing. I'm just looking, I can see 7. I think there's about 15 left the club, and they've brought some in, but as you say, 2 or 3 of them have been in the last week. Obviously, the ones that stand out, Cameron Borthwick-Jackson from Man United, and Conor McAlerney from Fleetwood stood out for me, I thought. Yeah, well, I said that in the preview for the Oldham game last week, and Mike did brilliantly say that, he's not got a particularly great record, has he? Goes and scores the third goal against us, of course. In the same way that I also said, signing Bobby Grant from a National League side, really? And he goes and scores the second goal against us. Typical, isn't it, really?
Well, before last week, Oldham, I thought they were terrible last season, and if it wasn't for the ineptness of Macclesfield and Stevenage, I think Oldham could have been sucked in. But no, that was flipped on its head on Saturday, unfortunately. I mean, on the one plus is it wasn't a league match, but they could use that as a springboard.
Could do indeed. It'll be interesting to see how they do. Both me and Mike thought they might struggle a bit this season, but after having seen them on Saturday, they should. I think they look solid enough. Not particularly spectacular. I think we made them look better than they were. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they got on as well. Next up, one of the teams I think will do really well, and I think Mike agrees with me on this based on what you were saying before, Port Vale.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were hard done by last season. They finished 8th, 1 point outside the playoffs, and via the points per game system, which they obviously settled the league on, they were 0.03 points from getting a playoff place. So they were really hard done by there. Obviously, their ex-Carlisle connection, they've got Luke Joyce, Sean Brisley, David Amu, Mark Cullen, and Harry McCurdy's training with them as well. So, and he's absolutely just bet your house on him scoring against us. Like, it's going to happen. They've got Tom Pope up front, who's been knocking around sort of League 1, League 2 for a few years. Big target man, scores a few goals. And there's signed Theo Robinson this summer as well, he's played in the Championship for, I think he was at Derby for a good few years. He's
I'm just looking.
A good addition for them.
They've signed Zach Mills from Oldham and Danny Whitehead from Salford, and they're solid League 2 players, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I think they're going to kick on from last season, and dare I say they might even make the top 3.
To be honest, I think I'd go with you on that one. I think it'll be interesting to see how they do get on. I think John Askew's done a really good job as manager, to be fair on him, you know, coming in after, you know, going to Shrewsbury was a gamble after he got the Macclesfield up back into the league. Didn't quite pay off, but fair play to him. He's shown he is a good manager and did a decent job towards the end of last season with Port Vale. I think I'm with you. I think they're potentially contenders to go up this season.
When you look at those, I know they've only brought half a dozen in, but they're nearly all experienced who will know this league.
Good quality players as well.
Yeah.
You can see that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they get on. I keep saying that obviously by every club, but I genuinely think they're a club that be quite an interesting one.
And as well, in terms of gates as well, they've got a big ground, so even on a reduced capacity, they'll still be able to...
Well, interesting one. They've had, you know, there's that section of their standards in there where there's no seats, and it's been built like 20 years ago, and they never got around to putting the seats on the bottom tier. Well, apparently they have done now, because they were going to put them in for a Robbie Williams concert in the summer. But the concert didn't happen, but the seats have gone in, so they've got an increased capacity on what they had last season. So that should help them as well. But apparently they've still got to fit out the concourse below it, which is brilliant. Okay, up next, it's another one of the favourites. It's me, and I've got Salford City. With their transfer business in the summer, if they don't make the top three, I think there's something wrong at that club.
Yeah.
You look at it, they've brought in some real quality. And the two that stand out most of all, Ian Henderson and Tom Clark.
Yeah.
Henderson obviously was at Rochdale for years. Always top scorer for them. Scored for fun in League One. Dropping down to League Two. He's 35, but he's still got quality, hasn't he? And he's one of the ones we all hope we might be able to snatch, but I don't think we're ever going to be able to compete with the location and wages that Salford could offer to him. And Tom Clark was Preston captain until not long ago. So, you know, there's another experienced head who could, you know, make a massive difference to them this season when you look at it.
The one that also stands out to me is Jason Lowe.
I was going to say, I've got two more in there. I said Jason Lowe and Ashley Hunter from...
I was just going to say Ash Hunter
Fleetwood
as well, yeah.
There's this, and just generally when you look down the players they've signed, experience and quality, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
That's the thing that really stands out to you. I think that Dan Gardner's one we tried to sign in the past, actually, under Greg Albert, actually, funny enough. But yeah, I mean, they've lost a lot. There's a hell of a lot of players gone out from the club, and you look at the outgoings over the summer. But have they basically changed things and said, instead of having a big squad, we're going to have quality? And that's the thing, I think. I mean,
they've got James Wilson as well, you didn't mention.
Oh, yeah, of course, they signed James Wilson. I think they signed him in January, didn't they, though? So he's been there a while. And they had Adam Rooney, didn't they, as well, who they ended up bidding off after signing one, was it $4,000 a week or something stupid like that? Yeah. The Carlisle connection there, obviously, is Ashley Eastham, who's their captain. He's one of the one-game wonders that me and Dan talked about. But again, in midfield, Richie Towell and Darren Gibson. Now, that's far too good for this level.
Darren Gibson was at Everton, 2 years ago, I think?
Yeah, not long ago. He's had his off-the-field issues. Sorry, I've just spotted another Carlisle connection I completely missed. Martin Smith, who was a two-game wonder, not a one-game wonder, wasn't he, I think? So yeah, it's... I
think Wonder's pushing it a bit.
Yes, that's stretching it a lot. I think last season there was a lot of expectations on their shoulders, weren't they, to go up. Ended up finishing 11th, pretty comfortable first season, but I think probably below what they would have hoped for with the money they'd invested. There'd be a lot of pressure on Graham Alexander. I think he was someone who'd been linked with the Carlisle job in the past. He got them into the Football League, found it a bit tougher last season. I think there's expectations this season that they should go up with the amount they spent. And I think if they don't get off to a great start and they don't find themselves at least in the playoffs by maybe November, December, might be one of those ones who's under pressure, possibly. It'll be a interesting one, but the bookies' odds don't really lie on this one. They should really be pushing for a promotion place at the very least, you'd think. Okay, that's Salford looked at. Up next, down at you and Scunthorpe.
Scunthorpe. Well, I thought they were terrible last season, to be quite honest. They finished 20th. We had an easy win away there. I don't think it was the greatest game.
No,
and
me and Mike when it was terrible.
the goal scorer that day, Ryan Lofts, actually signed for them last week and scored on his debut.
Indeed, he did.
The League Cup. I'm just looking at the squad, and it's massive. There's about 34 players listed.
They have an under-23 squad there, don't they? And I think they put a lot into that, I think.
But when you look at the signings, there's quite a bit of experience left. James Perch went to Mansfield, Rory McArdle's gone to Exeter, Kigosi went to Barrow. Adam Hamill, there's experienced players here. And when you look at what they've brought in, there's not much to say about them in the nicest possible way.
No,
they're all quite young. It's.
What about older Dunwald Turan from Bonner SC?
Yeah, I can tell you loads about him.
Which is he's from the Regional Liga West. Now I've seen games just below Regional League level in Germany. It's not a great standard.
No, I'm the same. He was actually at Bristol Rovers in the 17-18 season, and I think he had one game, and I think he went to Western-super-Mare on loan, so he's obviously got a good agent to get him a deal at Scunthorpe.
I mean, the only other signing for me that stands out for them is Lewis Spence. You obviously done well in the past. Not Louis Spence, like, thank you. But Lewis Spence, is the only one. I think you look down the squad, like us, they've promoted 5 players from their youth set up to the first team squad. So
I mean, there is a bit of Carlisle connection. Alex Gilead's there now, and that he did all right last season. He scored 6, but
he's their captain now, I think, isn't he?
I think he was one of the better players, certainly, for them. Obviously, Olamola's there, but whether he features for them's another thing. But
I think Alex Gilead actually captained them on the first game of the season, I think. So
I just look at that squad, and there's not much standing out. I think they could have another season of struggle, to be quite honest.
Does Gilead does he have the bottle to be your captain when you're going into a relegation battle? When when he played for us, someone said to me in the paddock, he just bottles out of 50-50 tackles, but it wasn't the 50-50 tackles, it was the tackles that were 80-20 in his favour that he'd bottle out of as well. He was just an absolute wimp, and if you're going to be fighting relegation, you want your captain to be sort of a meathead of a centre-back that'll run through walls for the team or something.
Yeah. So Dan's going for Scunthorpe to struggle. I think I probably agree with him on that one. Up next is a team I think we all agree is going to have a really tough season. That's Southend United. And that's you, Mike.
Yeah, last season they had loads of issues off the pitch. Players weren't getting paid and all the rest of it, and even the greatest mind in football, Sol Campbell, couldn't save them. So, things were tough for them. They really were. And they've only got 3 players in as well this summer so far. So I think they really do have a long season ahead. Their manager now is Mark Mosley, who managed to get Weymouth from the Vanarama South into the Vanarama. But he's been given a 3-year deal, and he's not exactly proven at Football League level. So I think it's going to be a very long season.
Well, it's funny you said they've signed 3, but I think we're just to give a bit of insight to the listeners here. We're all using transfermarkt.co.uk to follow the transfers. Brilliant site, great for statistics. But the way they do transfers, they've shown them signing 3, but one of them's Theo Robinson, who's actually gone to Port Vale. He was on loan from Colchester last season, and for some reason it's still showing in the transfers in. So they've actually only signed 2. Which says a lot. And obviously Jack Bridge was on trial there, and they kept him for a long time and decided, I think, not to sign him. It just looks, off the field we know there's big problems. They need to try and get a new ground. I think they've been trying that for years. So
that's the thing as well. They've got financial issues off the pitch, and if we're on reduced capacity, their average gates last season were about 6,200, and if they're on 40% of capacity, that'll hold 4,800. So they're going to be having even less fans through the gates.
And I think anyone who's been to Roots Hall will tell you as well, it's not a modern stadium. It's all seated because they've basically bolted all the seats onto the old terraces, and it's very, very cramped. I can imagine it could be even less than that as a capacity. So,
but I think they staved off a winding up order in the sort of final hour last season. I wouldn't be surprised if they wind up in an administration or something this season, because they're just a complete mess.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really, really tough one for them. And we'll do our little predictions in a minute. But I think they're going to have a tough one. Speaking of teams that can have a tough one, I think there's another one we all agree on: Stevenage. And Dan, that's you.
I'm going to go against you there.
Oh,
because when they started their recruitment, they generally thought they were going to be in the National League, and they pretty much released the entire squad. You know, there's a hell of a lot.
Looking
of
at God,
players
there's a lot gone, isn't it?
Yeah. But they've brought a few in, and yes, there's quite a few are from non-league, but there's a couple of proper experienced heads in there. You know, Luke Prosser went there from Colchester, which I think is a brilliant signing.
Yeah, he's very good signing.
And then Romain Vincelot, he's getting on, but he knows his way about. And I just think I'm not suggesting they're going to storm the league or anything, but
they might do better than you think.
I think they'll do a little bit better than a lot of people would expect. Yeah.
Well, they signed that keeper on loan from Chelsea, didn't they, Jamie Cumming?
Yes.
And he was Chelsea's third choice keeper last season. He travelled to all the Premier League games with them, so they clearly think quite highly of him. He's only 20, so that's quite a smart signing as well, actually, to be fair. Yeah, I haven't had a look again now. You're making me want to change my mind there.
I'll tell you who else have signed as well. A lad called Ben Corker, who was at Southend.
Yes, he was a good player.
And he was... there was a BBC documentary series about him after he did a serious injury. I think it was possibly like an ACL or something like that. It was a good little. It's worth looking up on. It'll probably be on YouTube now or iPlayer somewhere.
Yeah.
But he went to Lincoln and he only sort of played one game before going to Cambridge on loan, and obviously the season finished. But if he's got his fitness back, it's you know, they've got Scott Cuthbert's another solid. Yeah. You know, they've got quite an experienced sort of back line there, you know.
Well, you're making me... You've almost convinced me to change my mind, I think, there, Don. I think I would have them down to go down, but there you go. Okay, let's quickly move on to the next one. Mike, pick this one because you're a wool. Tranmere Rovers.
Yeah, well, I think they were hard done by last season as well, weren't they? They were
very hard done by.
They were threatening legal action over Burnley.
Unlucky, yeah.
Yeah, well,
I'm not. For some reason, Tranmere are just one of them teams I haven't got a lot of time for. I don't know why.
I mean, some people say they've got soft spots for teams. I mean, I hate every team. There's just teams that I hate less than others. I mean, I hate Carlisle. I just hate Carlisle less than every other team in the country, to be honest. So, but they, you know, obviously they went down, but they had a game in hand, and they were 3 points from safety, and they just won the last three. So they certainly thought that they could have stayed up. Obviously, ex-Carlisle connection there is Mark Ellis, with his weird gangly arms that he had. 20 staff they had to lay off as well with this coronavirus. So they've, but they seem quite professionally run. Obviously, Mark Palios is their chairman.
Yeah. Well, I mean, looking at the signings, I think James Vaughan's the one that stands out for me, just because he's going to get goals at this level, you think. Especially if he's happy and he's back home because he's from this area, isn't he? So
I was going to say Jay Speeding's probably another that stands out. Joe Murphy's back there, you know what I mean?
Experienced keeper. And Otis Khan was one we were linked with in the past, I think. Didn't quite work out for him at Mansfield, but, you know, if he can get back his form at Yeovil, then you never know.
Jay Spearing's one as well. I think he's only like 5'6" or something daft. Like, you know, he's one of them players who could be better in League One than League Two. Yeah. You know, he's, you know...
The other key thing for them as well is the fact that they've lost their manager, Mickey Mellon's obviously gone up to Dundee United, I think it is. He's gone to be manager there. His assistant, Mike Jackson's taken over. First job as a manager, it's going to be a challenge, that one.
I think they'll have eyes on at least the playoffs, so I really do.
Yeah. Oh, that's where I've roundabout got them anyway. I'd imagine they would be expecting that at the very least.
They're a big club as well, aren't they, really?
Yeah, they probably should be at the level above this. Okay, and last up, Walsall, that's me. I'll bash through this one quickly because there's not much really to say. They've been very quiet on the signings front. They've signed, obviously, an ex-Carlisle player, Hayden White. I think
he's only 25.
I know, I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe when I saw him. Because he must have been 18, 19 when we signed him.
Yeah.
Might explain that idiotic red card he got at Portsmouth, which is generally one of the stupidest red cards I've seen in my life. I still can't get over how idiotic it was, like diving in two-footed.
He went for the ball.
He didn't get anywhere bloody near it, did he?
Yeah.
Thing is, it wasn't the most offensive thing on that pitch that day. It was George Iliev. The Bulgarian wonder.
Anyways.
Less than in the base anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally they've not made. They've done what they always do, and they've promoted a lot of young players from their youth squad. They've got a very good youth set up there, and they generally give young players a chance. But bar that, they've signed George Nurse on loan from Bristol City, and a keeper from Southampton. But that's really it. They've not really made massive number of signings, but at the same time, they've not lost many either. Gary Liddell's left after his one season there, but
I think the one thing that could do well for them is, as you've just said, because they haven't had that much movement, they'll be a lot more settled.
Yeah. They were very solid last season. Well, they finished 12th, and I think in Darrell Clark they've got probably one of the best managers at this level. I think you remember the fact that he took over from John Ward, didn't he, at Bristol Rovers, and he relegated them to the conference. But actually, he did a brilliant job in getting them promoted 2 seasons in a row until he left last season. Yeah, he's one of those ones. I can see them potentially challenging for a playoff place just because.
Yeah, I was just going to say. Yeah, I think they're solid. The settled, and that could count for a lot this coming season.
Definitely. I just having a quick look through their squad again as well. Danny Guthrie's been around, hasn't he? He's a decent player. I wonder if they've got that fellow with that massive beard that we saw last season, Mike. I can't remember for the life of me what his name was, but it was
Santa Claus.
Oh, genuinely, he looked like the most hipster footballer you've seen in your life.
He looked like a Viking or something.
He was incredible. But yeah, their team I expect to do well. Before we get on to our predictions then, for what we all think are going to happen this season, bit of talk on Carlisle. I'm sort of stuck really. I think if we can get an attacking midfielder in, I think we can genuinely challenge for a playoff place. But if we don't, I think it's going to be tough.
I think Saturday's knocked the wind out a lot of sails, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, especially as it was Oldham, and Oldham's one of them places where we haven't done too bad.
No, we done well
in recent years, and a lot of optimism seems to have been sucked already. We hope it's a bad day at the office. I mean,
yeah,
I know we don't like to talk about the trophy, but we were playing Fleetwood there, who weren't far off for Championship last season.
Yeah,
you know, and to get beat 3-1 off Fleetwood is no disgrace, to be quite honest. And Oldham, it's you know, it's going to be. I really don't know. I don't like making predictions on Carlisle. And
I mean, the optimist in me sort of says that Oldham game, you know, we sort of went a goal down, and then it was an awful goal to concede that first goal, but then you're chasing the game, and then, you know, another one goes in, and, you know, hopefully it's just that, and lessons are really learnt from it. And
get out of a system in the first game. That's what you
Yeah. And, you know, at least it was a cup game as well.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go through our predictions for particular things for this season. First up, we're going to start with the champions. So I'll do it in alphabetical order, which means it'll be Dan first, then me, then Mike. So Dan, you go first. Who do you think are going to be champions?
I don't like saying it, but Salford.
You know what? I've gone Salford as well. I was going to go Bolton, but the more I thought about it, Salford have just got that little bit more.
I think they've used last year as a learning experience, and with some of those players we've mentioned, if they're not certainly in the top 3, there's something gone wrong.
Yeah.
Plus, also, they're a team that when it comes to January, if they need to buy, they will.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
So, Mike, you've gone for Salford as well.
Yeah. You know, if they don't go up, to be honest, we don't look like idiots for calling that, because, you know,
everyone expects them to.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 promoted sides. Dan?
I think I'm going to go for Port Vale.
Ooh. I presume Bolton's the other one, I'm guessing.
Yeah, but you've got to say Bolton, but it would have been a bigger surprise if they never quite.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, but I think, like we said, Port Vale, they only lost 8 games. They were so close to the playoffs, and those teams that were in the playoffs, I just can't see it.
Yeah, well, it's funny enough. I've gone Bolton and Port Vale as well, so this is getting pretty easy. This, so Mike, oh come on, please, just pick someone else. Okay, so Mike's gone Bolton and Port Vale as well. Typical. Okay, let's go for the playoff places and the winner of the playoffs. Go on, Dan.
Right, playoff places. I'm going to go for Tranmere, Forest Green, Walsall, and sod it, I'll say Carlisle, even though I hate pushing us.
Well, funny enough, I've got two of those as well. I've gone with Carlisle and Tranmere to be in there, but I've also gone for Walsall and Bradford City. I don't know why I've gone for Bradford City now. I look back at it, but I just have this feeling that they might just keep.
So you've gone for three that I did.
Three then? Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realise I've gone for three there.
Yeah. Well, I went for Bradford City as well, so you're not on your own there. I had Bradford, Tranmere, Exeter, and Carlisle. So,
well, there you go. We've gone for three each that we've all picked. Well, not all three of us picked. Two of them, Carlisle and Tranmere, we've both gone for. I think it'll probably be Tranmere that wins the playoffs, personally. But I don't know about you guys.
I'm going to say Forest Green.
It all depends, really, isn't it, on form, doesn't it?
Well, I had Bradford down to win the playoffs on mine.
Yeah.
So,
there you go.
You know.
Two relegated sides?
Like I say, I think Stevenage are going to surprise a few people, so I'm going to go for Scunthorpe. And I just can't see anything at Crawley. I can't.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I went for originally for Stevenage and Southend, but you've talked me out of Stevenage. You've bigged them up so much, Dan. I've changed my mind here. So
yeah, sorry, I'm going to change my mind. Yeah, I completely forgot about Southend. I'm going to put Southend just instead of Crawley.
Oh, well, there you go. I'm going to go for Crawley and Southend, actually. Yeah, I'm going with your original choice there, Mike.
See, I'm going to be bold. I've said Stevenage. I'm sticking with Stevenage, and I'm going to say Harrogate as well.
Oh,
yeah.
You know, they're one that could go either way, and I think there's some serious big fish in this division.
Yeah,
and they could really kind of knock their sails a little bit.
Okay. Next up, I didn't actually send this one to you in advance, so I do apologise. But who do you think the dark horse is going to be? Carlisle United, of course.
That's a good one because there's so many teams that are just
on the peripheral.
Based on that, I would probably say Walsall.
Yeah, I'd have a Walsall, or I think actually Harrogate. I think Harrogate might finish in the top half if they get a good run. I just have this feeling.
Yeah, and I've just seen tomorrow's Racing Post has the big football season pull out, and the Racing Post have gone for Bolton to win the title.
Oh, shock.
Port Vale to finish in the top 7, Southend to be relegated, and Bolton to be the top relegated club.
Oh, well, there's no shock there, really, is there?
No.
But yeah, so Mike, who have you gone for dark horse?
See, I've already said Bradford has a playoff team, and I think in a way that's kind of dark horse-ish, I suppose. So yeah, I'll stick with Bradford on that.
You could say that. Okay, top scorer in League 2?
Ian Henderson's going to be up there. If Salford push on like they should, Ian Henderson will score goals.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go for James Vaughan. I just have this feeling at Tranmere, he's going to be the one who causes a few problems. I think he'll be settled there compared against where he's been at Bradford, and I think he'll get goals.
See,
sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I toyed with Ian Henderson, but I thought there's a lot of Saturday, Tuesday, and with his age, maybe he might not be playing a full 90 in every game kind of thing. So I opted for James Wilson in the end. I know he's had his injury issues, but
I'll tell you one player I think could surprise a few, but maybe not so much us. And you mentioned him in your Barrow, Scott Quigley.
Yeah,
he's got barring injury. He's going to play every game.
Yeah,
he scores goals, and he will be their focal point.
Yeah, yep, it's true.
You know, so
okay.
I'm not saying 20 goals, but certainly 12 to 15 could be within his grasp.
That's also up next. Shall we say? I want to know the Carlisle top scorer, but also who you think the player of the season will be.
I'm going to say top scorer Amari Patrick.
Ooh, interesting. I'm going to go top scorer JJ Coyote. I know it's an obvious one. My only worry is he'll get recalled in January if he's doing really well. And I think play of the season, I have a feeling. I don't know. It's a hard one to judge. I think it might end up being Patrick. I think I agree with you. I think Patrick, if he can get a good run, he'll be a real problem player.
I'm going to go for George Tanner.
George Tanner, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think he did pretty well in pre-season. Struggled a bit at the weekend, but he picked up his form in the second half.
Yeah.
Mike?
Well, top scorer, I've gone for Coyote as well. And player of the season, I'm going a bit sort of outside the box maybe, and I'm going for Gimme Toure. I think he could be a bit of a fan favourite.
You know what? I wish I'd said Toure now. I completely forgot about him for a second there. But
who is going to be on penalties for us?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Because Toure is the sort of player who will probably get us 2 or 3 penalties.
I think Coyote took one against Newport, so you never know. Okay, first manager to be sacked. I've gone Mark Cooper at Forest Green, as I've mentioned before.
I'd like to say the Southend bloke, but they've given him a 3-year deal, haven't they? So Scunthorpe manager for me.
Yeah, well, I think he's quite new to the job as well, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on.
Yeah.
Mike?
See, I'm gonna double down on my Stevenage going down prediction. I'm not pulling back from this, and I'm gonna go for obviously Alex Revel at Stevenage. But as well, it's worth bearing in mind that Stevenage seem to love sacking managers and rehiring Graham Westley, and the other fella as well that they always there's had about 3 spells as manager there. I can't remember his name now, but yeah, so I'm going to double down on Alex Revel. Okay,
and I'll leave it to just one last question for you both. What date will David Holsworth bring out his turtleneck jumper?
Oh, that's a good one.
I mean,
global warming is a thing. I'm
going to say late October on a Tuesday night.
I was going to say 20th of October, Oldham away. Definitely.
You know what? I'm going to say September. He's a southerner. He can't handle the cold Cumbrian Tuesday nights, so I'm going to go September.
Ooh, very bold. Lads, I mean, that pretty much rounds it all up. Thank you very much for your time, and let's hope that we have a good season to celebrate this year.
Cheers.
Well, there you have it. That's the League 2 season preview episode done and dusted. Thank you for persevering through it, and I hope you had a laugh at some of our predictions for the coming campaign and enjoyed me telling you that it'll be really interesting to see how they get on for every single club. Remember that you can follow United through the season here on the podcast and other thecumbrians.net channels, but also in the Football League paper, who will have a match report from every EFL game this season. Find out more about where you can pick up your copy, either paper or digital, at theleaguepaper.com. There isn't going to be a preview episode for the Cambridge game this weekend. Unfortunately, all 3 of us have been too busy this week to fit the recording time in for it. We will, however, be back next week with a preview and news roundup episode ahead of the first home league game against Southend United. Sadly, it looks highly unlikely that fans will be able to attend the game in person at Brunton Park, but hopefully it won't be too long before we're back in the paddock, giving the opposition manager a bit of jip for standing a few centimetres outside his technical area. As always, if you've got any comments or feedback, or there's anything you'd like us to discuss, please send them in via Twitter to @BruntonBugle or by email to bruntonbugle@gmail.com. Remember, you can subscribe to the podcast via all good podcast apps, including Acast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. Please do also give us a review. We really appreciate the excellent feedback we've had so far. We are still keeping a track on where people are downloading it across the globe. We've got 2 more countries to add to the list, with listeners joining us now in Turkey and Vietnam. I also need to mention Nottingham, and my mate Simon will only complain as he was disappointed I left it off when I mentioned places in the UK in the last episode. So there you go, Simon. Nottingham is one of those places where people are listening across the UK. So that's it. Thanks again for listening. Up the Blues, and here's to another great season for Carlisle United.